Hello everyone. Welcome back to Know the Social Sector with Archana Chandra. Archana is a CEO of Jai Vakeel. She has an experience of running volunteer on organizations. She has volunteered herself for over 10 years and played different roles leading capacity building program within the organization, learning on job what makes a difference in the lives of the student. She believes in working with community towards students and integrating them for the larger impact. Welcome Archana.
Hi Sanjana, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and I must say it's an absolute pleasure and delight to be here chatting with you.
Do you want to talk about Jai Vakeel?
Sure. So Jai Vakeel Foundation was started actually 77 years ago. I say that very casually, but it's longer than India's independence. And it was started by Mr. and Mrs. Vakeel, who had a daughter with Downs at that time, Dina, and there was nowhere to send her for education or therapy. So they started in their house with literally one child. And today we've grown into being the oldest and largest institute working in the space of intellectual disability. We serve 3,000 children directly on our 3 campuses in Maharashtra. And I think our vision is to strive for the inclusion of the intellectually challenged by maximizing their potential. At this point, Sanjana, I'll just take a step back and say, what do we even understand by intellectual disability? It's the starting point in this is actually the IQ, which is basically your ability to comprehend or understand things. And if 100 is the normal IQ, all the children and individuals that we serve have an IQ of 70 and below. Even intellectual disability is a spectrum-based condition. So, it starts with borderline and then it goes on to mild, moderate, severe, and even profoundly challenged, depending on where you are on that spectrum. Your needs vary and differ. Very often, in addition to intellectual disability, the child or the individual also has other issues like visual impairment, hearing impairment, cerebral palsy, autism, and or some combination of all of this. What we're trying to do for all our children and individuals is inclusion. So the big picture goal that we have for everyone is inclusion. And we've broken up inclusion at 3 broad levels: at the family level, at the community level, and at society level. So every intervention that we provide is in order to empower our children to be inclusive at these 3 broad levels.
Thank you so much for telling what inclusion means for you as an organization and as a community. Would you like to talk about the core issue Jai Vakeel is as an organization is trying to solve, and what are the geographies you cover through these programs?
Sure. Like I said, we're serving the intellectually challenged. What we are finding that even within the space of disability, intellectual disability seems to be the most invisible. And there's little or no data that's available, right? In India, 2% of our population has intellectual disability. Sanjana, loosely translated, that means 26 million people, or 1 in 50. And my pain comes from the fact that if it's 1 in 50, before I came to Jai Vakeel, I couldn't remember the last time I had met or interacted with any of these people. So despite the prevalence, society as a whole doesn't really understand it. There's so much stigma attached to it. As a result, the entire group is just so highly underserved. Now, like I mentioned earlier, for us at Jai Vakeel, the goal is inclusion. Right? And what we found again is that inclusion means different things for different children or different people. So for example, Ria, 10-year-old Ria, when she came to us, she was diagnosed with epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, and she has cerebral palsy of all the 4 limbs, as a result of which she was even finding it difficult to hold her own head up all the time. With 2 years of intense therapy, Ria can now hold her own head up high, as a result of which she can sit in a class. Now, this has translated not only into a transformational change for Ria, but also for her entire family and her mom, who now no longer has to hold her head up and can actually do other things. I'll give you another example of inclusion of Himanshu. When Himanshu came to us, he has borderline ID and autism. And again, there were a lot of behavior issues and challenges. Today, Himanshu has a job at a multinational, and he's actually the only breadwinner in his entire family. Now, this gives, both inclusion as well as independence a whole new meaning. So while we are able to do this for all of the children who are on the Jai Vakeel campus, we are cognizant of the fact that there are 26 other million dreams that we have to champion.
Thank you for explaining us through examples, because disability or inclusion for everyone looks different, right? So thank you for that. Can you also tell us about the different programs you run in your organization?
Sure. So, like I said, our big picture goal is inclusion. And we have a very holistic approach to the management of children with ID. And we cater to about 3,000 of them directly on our campuses. We serve the entire spectrum of intellectual disability. So from borderline, mild, moderate, severe to profound. And the services that we offer on our campus are broadly defined, broken up into three categories: education, healthcare, and skill development. So in the healthcare department, the child first comes to us and we do this whole diagnostic assessment of what really is the need of the child and what stage of development are they, on the basis of which program is designed. So for example, if Archana has come at age 6 and has never been in a classroom, you cannot put me straight into a classroom, right? You will need to give me one-on-one therapy to build my sitting tolerance, to build my ability to take instructions, go from single instructions to multiple instructions, etc. All that happens in our healthcare department, including counseling to my parents, on my acceptance, on making them think about my future, etc. Once I'm ready for classroom integration, I go into the school, which is the second vertical of education that we offer. Like I mentioned, Sanjana, we have a whole spectrum. And depending on where the child is on the spectrum, education actually means different things. So if you're borderline and mild, like Madhuresh, you will be encouraged to prepare for the 10th standard exam. But if you're severely and profoundly challenged, then honestly, education does not necessarily mean academics for you, or academics can be a secondary goal. The primary goal for a severely and profoundly challenged person would actually be making them more independent in what we call their activities of daily living, like bathing, brushing, feeding myself, etc. This happens, or education happens for my child from the ages of 3 to 18. At 18, the child graduates from school and moves into a vocational training program where we see, again, based on your aptitude and ability, what's best for you. So it could be, we're going to prepare you for a job outside like we did for Himanshu. But if that's not right by you or for you, we will equip you to move into our sheltered workshop, where we have 8 different vocations that we teach our children. And depending on your productivity, at the end of the month, every person is giving a stipend. So they too have a sense of pride and accomplishment in terms of, what they've done. Now, all of these activities, Sanjana, at Jai Vakeel are about empowering the child and the family towards inclusion. But what we do realize is that there is a whole other dimension to the work we do, which is making society aware of this population with intellectual disability, right? Because unless society is made aware, they will not be able to accept. And without acceptance, there will be no inclusion. So we have a lot of activities that we do towards spreading awareness and sensitizing society as a whole. Now, healthcare, education, and skill development that I just talked about is everything that we do on our campuses for the 3,000 students that we work with directly. What we've recently done, recently means about 3 years ago, is that we have started on our journey towards scale. We actually made a curriculum for our children in school. And this curriculum we are taking to scale by partnering with the government all across Maharashtra and hoping to impact, over 2,000 special educators and 17,000 children all over Maharashtra.
So happy to learn that how Jai Vakeel is moving towards systemic change, collaborating with government and impacting. Moving towards hiring perspective, how frequently do you hire? And how should a young professional apply for it?
So hiring for us is need-based. as and when it's structured and it's need based. But what I would say is that as an organization, we're constantly engaging with people. We have a really, really strong volunteering model. And what I would like to believe is unique at Jai Vakeel is that we have volunteers at all levels. So for example, we have volunteers who are working one child at a time in the classroom. We have volunteers who are giving their specific expertise or skill at a project level. So for example, the whole Jai Vakeel name and branding has been done by a volunteer, Shirin Etarwala, over the years. So, the way our name looks, the way our website looks is all done by a volunteer. And we have volunteers even at the leadership level. About 25% of our leadership level that's so in a voluntary capacity. So we have them really across the organization contributing in all ways. In addition to volunteers, we also have a lot of alumni, interns who are working with us round the year on different projects and in different shapes.
Sure. Thank you so much. What should be one thing for an individual to join your organization? Also, what is something that you offer people for their growth and learning?
I think Jai Vakeel gives you an opportunity to work in a cause that's not on many people's radars, right? Like I said, most people are not even aware on what intellectually disabled means. There's so much stigma attached to it that sometimes I find even families shy away from bringing their children or family members out into public spaces of family functions. We are serving the underserved, and within that space, we are serving the most vulnerable. At Jai Vakeel, 76% of our children are from the lower socioeconomic strata. And due to this complexity and vastness of the task, we know that it is going to take some of the best minds and innovations to crack this. I think for us, the ability to see things differently and do things differently is what is going to make all the difference. I honestly believe, what you, Sanjana and Mahala are doing through these podcasts is a classic example of what I'm trying to say, right? You're like trying to expand the pool of people, good people who will get excited to work in this place, get to know about different organizations, get to know about different causes, and see which one will make their heart sing and connect with it, right? This is what I mean by do things differently. And I truly, truly am a big fan of what you and Mahala are doing through these kind of podcasts. So those are the kind of people that we're really, always excited to meet and have as part of our organization. So at Jai Vakeel, of course, we'll give you the autonomy to shape your role, drive your own learning and growth. For us, learning is very, very important and a big focus area, both internal as well as external. And whenever we have new roles or promotions, we're always exploring talent from within first. I think the second part of your question is, what is it that we look for when we're hiring? I think all of this. It's almost obvious that, the requisite skill sets and trainings for that specific role. But over and above that, we're always looking for this passion and this desire to make a difference, as well as being able to see the big picture as opposed to just the small role that you will play.
Thank you so much. What does an organization culture look like in Jai Vakeel?
So I'd like to believe that we have a culture which is both empathetic as well as result oriented. We are really and truly focused on results, and we're continuously raising the bars for ourselves with, of course, my child and the family being at the center of it. In any and every situation, we have an approach which is of empathy, to explore and to innovate. We're constantly reframing perspectives and seeing situations as opportunities to learn and grow and reinvent. We extend this empathy not just to our children, but also to each other as working colleagues. And we want to make this a place which is where each one of us feels safe and everyone is aligned to the cause that is larger than the individual roles that we play. We're very aware that the work that we do is difficult, but we have a lot of fun while doing this together as well.
One message that you would like to share with people listening to this video?
That's a great question, actually. So I spent many, many years in the corporate space. And in the year 2000, a series of events happened in my life, as a result of which I found myself at the crossroads of saying, what next? And it was at that time that a really dear friend, Dr. Anita Pando, that I met socially, said, you have to come and see this institute, Jai Vakeel, that she had been coming to since she was a child. And I remember her telling me that, we serve the intellectually challenged, it's the largest and the oldest, and it does such phenomenal work. You have to come and see. And Sanjana, in my head, I was petrified. I was like, I don't even know what that means. How am I going to engage to them? What am I going to even say to them? And nevertheless, I found myself at Jai Vakeel one morning. I met these amazing, amazing children with the most infectious smiles and unconditional love and hugs that I got. And my heart was engaged. Right. And I went back and I said, because of the training that I had had over so many years, I was like, heart is engaged, but what is data telling me? And that's when I found out that 2% of our population has intellectual disability. And in my head, I was thinking, if it's 1 in 50, why have I not seen these people in any of these malls, theaters, weddings, family functions that I go to, right? And that is when I decided to stay. And I was like, if I'm going to give my time and my expertise somewhere, I'm happy to do it in a cause that is so underserved and help shine some spotlight on it. So this is the message that I would actually say to anyone who's hearing or listening. If you have the passion or the desire to make a difference in this space, then please do come see our campus, come meet our children, and I promise you it will be worth your while. You can then decide if the place and the cause makes your heart sing, then we'd love to have you work with us because we're constantly looking for good people. But I would urge you to make that one visit to decide.
Thank you so much, Archana, for being with us and talking about Jai Vakeel.
Thank you.